is Tatiana Taranova, and I'm an English teacher from Russia, St. Petersburg. I'm very happy to be part of this wonderful global conference. And today I'd like to speak with you about something that I discovered not very long time ago myself. Being an English teacher, I noticed, and it wasn't very difficult to notice, that a lot of my students have a difficulty with understanding English grammar. And within 10 years of experience, I've come up with a lot of different methods, tricks to help them deal with this difficulty. And only about 2 months ago, during a workshop that I was hosting with my friend and colleague from London, and this workshop was NLP in language learning, I realized that I have a belief that learning languages helps me understand and accept other people easier. This is the way I learn languages. I just read grammar rules and I accept them and I apply them straight away without questioning. And I thought that that might be the case why my students have some difficulties with understanding grammar. And then, as it usually happens, the universe started sending me different situations that supported my idea. So every time when we learn something new, or when we come across something new, we try to find connections with something that already exists in our reality. And if we are able to find these connections, then we accept these things easily. Then we believe, oh yes, so this is within my comfort zone. And this thing is real, this thing is possible, and I understand that I can use it. But as soon as we come across something absolutely new, and we are not able to draw any analogies, that's something that already exists in our universe, in our mind, then such things are deemed as eccentric, strange, and we even refuse to acknowledge their right for existence. So we just simply can't understand how such thing is possible. And such approach hinders the way, the process of learning, the process of acquiring new things, just because we are not willing to accept something that we don't see logical. And such thing can be easily traced in relationship with people. Probably many of you have friends that stand out in some way, that act differently from you, that have different tastes. Like I had a friend when I was in university who loved eating chocolate with mayonnaise. Can you imagine that? Such a strange thing, but this was the way she was. She loved it. Or probably some of you can find me strange because I don't understand the beauty of macaroni and cheese, everybody's favorite dish. I just simply don't find this plain boiled dough tasty. This is the way I am. And if you keep on questioning your friends that have different tastes, if you keep on saying oh, you're such a strange person, I really can't understand, you don't love macaroni and cheese, please try, maybe you didn't try them, or you should try them, they're really nice. Or how can you spend the whole day playing video games? That's such a strange thing to do. So right, if we keep on saying such things, that would lead us nowhere. This is not definitely not a way of supporting friendship. It can ruin friendship easily. But the thing is that we don't need to understand how on earth a person cannot like macaroni and cheese, or how on earth a person would find playing video games interesting, and things like that. The only thing that we need to understand is that we grew up in different conditions, and we were influenced by many different factors. And it's no wonder that all of us are different, because we were born under different stars, or we were given different education, we were brought up in different families, and our collective experience influenced us as well. Even medical conditions, health conditions can influence our personality. And there are a lot of many other circumstances that shape the way they are. And the same is true about languages, right? It's not a surprise for all of us that languages were shaped and formed under different circumstances, right? The wars that the countries fought and different traditions and geography and the way the countries are developing at the moment. All of these things influence the language and influence the psychology of the language. And this is the only thing that we need to understand, that every language has a reason to be different from our mother tongue. And we don't need to question every language phenomena. We just see, oh, it's different. Oh, I understand that the development of this language was influenced by many different factors. And just simply accept the fact that, okay, this is the way they do it. And if I want to speak that language, I should accept that this is the way I should do when I speak this language, without trying to find any connections or trying to draw analogies. There's something that already exists in our reality. Well, yes, drawing analogies, drawing these parallels helps us to understand something. And I'm not saying that we don't need that to do it all. I'm just saying about the cases when it's not possible to do that, when something in a language is absolutely different, like, for example, reading rules. Yeah, if you studied Russian, you know that basically we pronounce every letter that is written there. Some of the letters, yes, they are reduced, but if you articulate every single letter that is written there, everybody will understand you. And it's not that difficult to deal with reduction, right? We just pronounce the stressed syllable correctly, like we articulate the stressed vowel and reduce the rest. It's not difficult. Whereas in English, we all probably, many of us are familiar with that saying that we write Manchester and read Liverpool. So the reading rules sometimes have the way we read the words sometimes is very different from the way that we write the words. And we just simply need to accept that fact without trying to understand why on earth they would do that. Just simply know that the reading rules of English language were influenced by many historical factors. And I like very much a quotation from the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So when we're trying to understand somebody, before walking a mile in somebody else's shoes, we need to take off our own shoes. And I think that the same can be applied to learning languages. So if we want to master the language, we just need to accept the rules of that language. And sometimes it means that we need to let go of our understanding of the rules of our own language. So this is really important. Because if we don't do that, a lot of false stereotypes can appear. Like many of Russian learners, so if you were trying to learn Russian, you probably came to think that Russian people are very rude. Simply because when we address somebody, when we ask somebody to do something, we don't use subjunctive. We don't use that would part. We simply say, open the door, please. So we use imperative and we add word please. Открой дверь, пожалуйста. This is the way we form polite request. It doesn't mean that we are rude. So this is the rule of our language. But I met a lot of foreigners saying that, oh, Russians, you're so rude. You never say, would you please do that? You just simply say, откройте дверь, пожалуйста. Or we can say, будьте добры, be kind. So it's another imperative, be kind, and open the door, please. But this is the way polite request is formed in our language. This is it. There is nothing more to it. Just accept it. This is our rule. This is the way polite requests are formed in our language. And about a week ago, one of the parents texted me and said, Tatiana, I need your help. My 11-year-old son doesn't understand English alphabet. And I thought, like, are you serious? Is it even important to understand the alphabet? I don't know, like, does any one of you understand the alphabet? This seemingly illogical sequence of letters? Do we even need to understand the alphabet? To be honest, like, I even believe that there is no need to understand, if we're speaking about English, to understand the reading rules of English. For me, and well, I'm not insisting on that, this is my personal way, but for me it's much easier to look up every single word and memorize the way we should read it, because as the practice proves, for every single rule of reading in English, there are much more exceptions. So for me it's easier to memorize the way we read the words and develop a habit of checking every single word, the transcription of every single word. Another thing that a lot of my students struggle with is auxiliaries, simply because in Russian language we form interrogative and negative sentences without auxiliaries, and they are trying to do the same with English sentences. Yes, I understand that the power of habit is very strong, and it has a lot to deal with the power of habit. But if we simply accept the fact that if you want to make an interrogative sentence, if you want to ask a question, you simply need to put an auxiliary before the subject. That's it. Just simply accepting that fact can make the whole process of asking questions 100 times easier or so. And the same with negative sentences. You just need to accept the fact and force yourself to focus on the fact that we need to put an auxiliary, and only after that we add not, this negative particle not. And that's it. And it makes the process of learning grammar much, much easier. And another example that happened to me about a month ago. My student asked me, like, Tatiana, how do we pronounce that sound? How do we pronounce these two letters? Is it more like s or z or v? And I said, neither. Like, none of these sounds. It's neither s nor z, and it's not even a v. You simply need to put the tip of your tongue between the front teeth. But for many people, it's easier. They're trying hard to find connections. They're trying hard to make this comparison and draw parallels. Like, is it s or z? How do I pronounce it? Don't do that. Simply accept the fact that such sound doesn't exist in your language. And all you need to do is just simply practice placing your tip of your tongue between front teeth. That's it. And it will help you for sure. It helped me, it helped many other learners. You just need to accept that fact. And the same is true about many other languages. Like if we take German, for example, it's really difficult for us to understand like why they would call something as Messer, das Messer, right? It doesn't sound neutral at all. It's very masculine. It's Messer. Why das Messer? It's such a strange thing to do. Or der Löffel, Löffel, it's feminine, yeah? Very feminine. Why would it be dar löffel? It's such a strange thing to say. And we can question every single word. But if we accept the fact that the gender of nouns is determined not by the meaning of the word, but by the form of the word, and all we need to do is just, yeah, there are many different ways. You know that if you're learning German language, and every ending of the word can be like for every article there is a certain ending of the word, but for me this way it didn't work, and for me it was easier to memorize the words together with the articles. So you just choose your way, but simply accept that that this is der Löffel and this is das Messer and that's it, or this is die Gabel, and stop questioning that and stop struggling with that, and it will make things much easier. Or if we take Italian, for example, it may not be the same for learners of other languages, for people from different countries, but for Russians, for us, this absolutely counterintuitive. This ne pronoun, it's like such a headache for us, because for us, ne is nie. It's a negative particle, right? And when we say ne abbiamo cinque, like we want to ask a question, do you abbiamo or you don't abbiamo? Because ne abbiamo cinque is very confusing for us. But if you force yourself to accept the fact that ne is a pronoun that is used to replace some nouns, everything becomes easier. Well, yes, it will take some time to develop that habit of using this ne as a pronoun and of understanding it as a pronoun is something that replaces nouns, but not a negative particle. But it will be much easier for you to develop that habit if you simply accept the fact that it is different from your mother tongue. Well, in our case, it's different from Russian language. And this is so crucial, and this can help not only help us not only become better language learner, but better communication partners, because language and psychology are deeply intertwined. And if we learn to celebrate the differences, if we learn to accept the fact that we are different by without questioning that, then I'm sure that, well, maybe like you already know that, and it's not the case in your case, but for many of our students, it will be something that will help them to progress in language learning faster, and it will help us become better people. It will help us make friends with everybody easier, just simply if we learn to accept that there are many reasons for people and for languages to be different, and there is a logical explanation to that. And all we need to do is just to accept that fact and celebrate the differences. I hope that it was interesting for you, and thank you very much for your attention. And I hope that very soon we will be able to see each other in person. Thank you very much. Bye bye.